Lord Voldemort would be nothing without his army of loyal minions, the Death Eaters. Without them, he would have continued to have no physical manifestation after his curse on baby Harry rebounded and destroyed his body. As mysterious as the Death Eaters are, there are plenty of facts that remain unknown to the vast majority of Harry Potter fans. Here are 10 things you didn't know about Death Eaters. Some of these may really surprise you. Before we get started though, make sure you click that subscribe button so you don't miss a thing. The Malfoys were lowest in the ranks of the Death Eaters. The Malfoys are some of the most prominent Death Eaters we meet throughout the entire series. What many don't know was that they were the lowest in Voldemort's ranks, after Draco failed to kill Albus Dumbledore. Shortly after the failed murder, Voldemort treated them with disdain and contempt, believing they were nothing more than weaklings and failures. Death Eaters must be human. The Death Eaters recruit many non-human allies to aid them with their goals. However, none of these non-humans are allowed to be Death Eaters due to Voldemort's disdain for anything non-human. Fenrir Greyback was one of Voldemort's most vicious allies, known for his brutal attacks on children and a desire to turn others into werewolves, but he was never allowed to be a true Death Eater. Lucius Malfoy betrayed the Death Eaters to escape prison. Lucius Malfoy managed to escape and evade the authorities through betrayal of his fellow Death Eaters. Those who had served the Dark Lord and fled thought they'd gotten away without being captured, but Lucius provided evidence which would lead to their arrest and keep him out of prison.
Look at me. How can you live with yourself, Lucius?
They were almost called the Knights of Walpurgis. J.K. Rowling almost called the Death Eaters the Knights of Walpurgis. The name itself was her way of playing on Walpurgis Night, the evening where witches and demons would gather according to German folklore. Rowling revealed the Death Eaters rose out of this group, but they were likely given a different name later on to distinguish their new agenda in bringing power to Voldemort. Death Eaters hoped Harry would be a better Voldemort, not an adversary. Remember all the way back in Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone where Draco Malfoy offered his alliance and friendship to Harry, only to be swiftly refused?
I think I can tell the wrong sort for myself, thanks.
This was likely all part of a plan put into place by Malfoy's father and his fellow disbanded Death Eaters, who were hoping that Harry would grow up to be the greatest Dark Lord that had ever lived. Unfortunately for them, the good parts of Harry's character proved to be too powerful to allow the dark pieces to take over, resulting in him being an adversary after all. They're not all pure blood. One of the most important aspects of Death Eaters' ideology is blood status. They uphold the notion that pure blood witches and wizards are inherently superior to their muggle-born counterparts. In reality though, it's impractical to maintain blood purity. While most of Voldemort's followers probably didn't know about his half-blood status, it goes to show that one's actual blood status doesn't matter as long as they espouse anti-muggle rhetoric.
How dare you talk to me, filthy little mudblood!
Narcissa Malfoy was never an official Death Eater. Though she was one of the most prominent characters fighting on the dark side, the Malfoy family matriarch never officially joined the ranks of the Death Eaters. There are a lot of different reasons offered up as to why this may be. Narcissa did, however, believe in the importance of blood purity, so she's not exactly a loving, caring character when it comes to those who aren't members of the Malfoy family. They don't know one another. Although readers eventually learn the names and faces of several high-profile Death Eaters, the Death Eaters generally don't know one another's identities. Obviously, there are a few exceptions to this given that some of them betrayed one another. Their elaborate disguises prevent Death Eaters from ratting each other out in the event of capture. That being said, it is by no means fail-proof, as we witnessed in the series. The Dark Mark is connected to Voldemort's health. After Voldemort's first downfall, the Dark Mark began to fade away. Although they never fully disappeared, the Dark Mark becomes clearer when Voldemort starts to regain his strength in the follow-up to the Second Wizarding War. Death Eaters outnumbered the Order of the Phoenix 20-1. Voldemort and his followers weren't just ruthless and powerful, they were also relentlessly cunning. In the Goblet of Fire, Peter Pettigrew and Barty Crouch Jr. form an elaborate plan to facilitate Voldemort's physical return, allowing him to regroup with his Death Eaters to take over the Wizarding World once again. According to Lupin in the Order of the Phoenix, the Order was outnumbered 20-1 by the Death Eaters during the First Wizarding War. After his resurrection, Voldemort had only lost 6 followers, and it is likely he gained many more before the Battle of Hogwarts, still outnumbering the Order of the Phoenix by a significant margin. If you liked that video, make sure to give it a thumbs up and share it on social media. Which of these facts surprised you? Let us know in the comments below.